Thank you. I would now like to invite the Haudenosauneee to speak, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for allowing me to speak and to address this gathering. It's deja vu for us all again, because we've been through this before, and I want to respond to a couple of statements that were put forward by some states, and I appreciate the states' participation here. I think it's important that we have this kind of dialogue. We may not agree with each other, but it's important that we can try to come to a common understanding. This issue of selection criteria has always been a debate, going all the way back to the beginnings of the discussions on the Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. But we always felt that it was very clear who was Indigenous, and Indigenous peoples are those that have attachment to the land from time immemorial. That they have always been there as long as anybody's memory can remember, and that they have a link to the lands, the lakes, the waters, the forests, the oceans that they use and they dwell on. So the whole idea that the criteria should be more complicated than that is difficult to understand. We, the Haudenosauneee, are a federation of 6 nations: Mohawk, Oneida, Onondaga, Cayuga, Seneca, and Tuscarora. And we have been living in our areas from time immemorial. And we also understand the issue of self-determination from before the time of European contact. We understand what rights were, and we understand that the authority of the sovereignty of our nations lie with the people. The sovereignty does not lie with the king or queen, or even with a chief. Sovereignty lies with the people, and we educated Europeans about our concept of democracy. And that's why in the U.S. Constitution, the term "we the peoples" comes from the teachings of our people. Our peoples taught the United States of America what that meaning was. So we have we are a matrilineal society, so we understood the power of the women and the influence of the women. It's something that the United States of America did not learn from, did not want to listen to us when they basically disavowed the power of women when they created their constitution. So we have a difficulty when one state asks us, where's the role of the women, where is the role of the youth, when I don't see a role of the youth in their states. And also, when they talk about women, I understand that the one state had a woman candidate for president who got more votes than her male opponent, but her male opponent got to be president. So we don't want to hear lectures about the value and the role of women. When we Haudenosaunee, we know the value of women much more than states do. So we would like to understand too that we know that there's a difference between indigenous peoples and minorities and ethnic minorities. The United Nations already has a Declaration on the Rights of Minorities, which clearly states what those rights are. And now it has a Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, and it makes it very clear the difference between those two rights. And those different rights between minorities and indigenous. We have a right to self-determination, we have a right to lands and territories and natural resources, and we exercise our rights collectively. And it's that collective right that we are exercising when we sit here and meet with you. I'm not sitting here representing an NGO or representing a city-state of indigenous that states create under the Indian Act or the Advancement Acts of the U.S. and Canadian government that creates these small little reservations and reserves and little city-states. These are not, we don't view them as nations. The nations are all of the Mohawks, all of the Oneidas, all of the Onondagas. That's what a nation is. And that's who we feel that as nations, as peoples, as a right to self-determination, we have a right to express and represent ourselves in the United Nations. Maybe we can't be member states, but we certainly are nations, and we certainly are peoples, and we have every right to be represented and representing ourselves. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.